Dear Diary, oh, the summer of 1943. If walls could talk, I tell you, they'd simply burst with laughter, gossip, and a whole heap of scandal. It all began with Miss Edna Hargrove, our beloved librarian, who seemed the picture of decorum, until those hushed whispers tore through the town like a barn fire on a hot day. To wash the dust off our old town of Maplewood, you have to understand that we were not a place known for wild adventures or jarring events. The most excitement we usually got was when the train rolled out an hour late, barely making the town's sleepy hearts race. Miss Edna, with her bird-like frame and oversized glasses perched on the end of her nose, had a particular fondness for her poetry collection. Little did we know that her choice of reading wouldn't just rustle some pages, but would ignite a feud so grand it would make even the most mundane lives feel just a tad more exciting. It all started innocently enough one bright Tuesday morning. I had nestled myself in my usual corner of the library, thumbing through the musty volumes, when I overheard a whispered conversation that would set the town abuzz. Convinced that Edna had taken to writing poetry herself, a scandal in its own right, as women were meant for baking and gatherings, not penning verses, a few enterprising souls, namely Gertrude McCoy, the self-appointed town gossip, and young Billy Winthrop, slightly too bold for his own good, decided to investigate. When Edna's latest poetry collection went missing, the business of whispering turned into a frenzied hunt. It was soon discovered, much to the horror of the town's prim ladies, that Miss Hargrove's lost poems were not just the innocent musings of a sweet librarian. Oh no, they were penned with longing and passion, revealing such fervent emotions that would leave even the most seasoned of scandal enthusiasts weak at the knees. Believe me when I say, dear reader, that the lines "the moon danced with the shadows" and "my heart aches like a starving child" were hardly what we expected to flow from her ink. And when Edna found out who had gotten their hands on her work, oh, the very air in the library felt electric, like the calm before a summer storm. Tension simmered, laughter turned to hushed gasps, and the air buzzed with suspense as accusations whipped through town, quicker than a 4th of July firecracker. Stay tuned, because the plot thickened from there, and little did we know we were on the verge of the greatest scandal Maplewood had ever witnessed. As the days slipped by, the laughter and whispers only intensified, creating a tapestry of intrigue woven throughout the town. Those who had once shared smiles in the market or exchanged pleasantries at the church now eyed each other warily, suspicion knitting itself into the fabric of their daily lives. Miss Edna, meanwhile, had transformed from our earnest protector of knowledge to a tempestuous figure. One could see the fire sparking in her once gentle eyes, an unmistakable flicker indicating she was not one to be trifled with. It was a Wednesday afternoon when the pivotal showdown unfolded. The air hung thick with the stench of popcorn from Miss Gertrude's over-enthusiastic baking, drawing townsfolk to the library under the pretense of attending a poetry reading, a thin veil for what everyone really wanted, a spectacle. I found myself seated near the front, unable to resist watching this carefully crafted drama unravel. Edna stepped into the crowded library, carrying a stack of her own poetry and sporting a fiery crimson dress that surprised even the most seasoned of attendees. With a voice that rang clear like the church bells on Sunday, she addressed the crowd, her fluttering heart giving rise to a formidable strength. "I am here not just as your librarian," she proclaimed, "but as a poet and as a woman. These verses are my truth, not a secret to be pilfered." Gasps echoed throughout the assembly. Poems filled with yearning, reflections on love and loss, and scandalous hints of romance spilled forth. The townsfolk, initially buzzing with morbid curiosity, switched to rapt attention as Edna read of desires that dared to challenge the expected norms of their quaint lives. With each line, the tension morphed. The audience shifted from gaping at scandal to grappling with the raw beauty of her words. And then, before she could finish, Gertrude McCoy stood up, a look of both outrage and admiration painting her features. "But it's scandalous. What will the town think?" she protested, her voice dripping with both disbelief and awe. Edna, unfazed, simply replied, "Better to fear my words than to ignore the depth of life itself." This moment crystallized into a turning point for Maplewood, as the townspeople found themselves confronted with their own sheltered lives. As the poetry flowed, the lines between whispering and wonder blurred, the scandal transformed into a celebration of authenticity. What began as a hunt for Miss Edna's misplaced words evolved into a communal reflection, igniting conversations of passion that had long smoldered beneath the town's veneer of respectability. In the aftermath, our sleepy town was forever changed. Miss Edna's daring choice to embrace her voice inspired others to explore connections beyond the usual bounds. Such a summer produced an awakening, an understanding that exploration of passion, be it in literature or love, was a vital part of life that could not be stifled. So if I've learned anything from this unfolding tale, dear reader, it's not merely about the poets or their captured hearts, but about living wildly and passionately, unshackled from the bonds of expectation. When townsfolk began discussing their own dreams, desires, and yes, even the poetry bubbling within them, I realized that our sleepy little Maplewood was teetering on the brink of something far more profound. The greatest scandal we unearthed wasn't simply about Edna's poetry. It was about the revelation that silence should never reign when the heart demands to speak.